AfterBuzz.net podcast network.
Something's coming.
Stand by. Hold on to your hats. Here we go.
Welcome to the ScreamCast, episode 112. I am Sean Drager, and with me is Brad Henderson.
Hey.
Goddamn you, the goddamn yawns. So what happens when we record in the morning? Also joining us, BJ Colangelo.
Good morning, boys.
Good morning. Today, Brad and I are going to be talking to John Kassir, the Cryptkeeper. So we'll be playing that interview later on.
If neither of you, I should say, there's only two of you. If neither of you asked him about Reefer Madness, the musical, you're dead to me.
We didn't. Sorry.
Oh,
I didn't
you're
think
dead to
about
me.
it. And we had a fan mention that.
He did.
But
we didn't see it till later. I didn't see any responses till after the interview, and I was like, oh.
like, if you knew how nervous we were during the recording of this, like,
yeah.
it's tough. Like, you know, because, you know, he's now that's somebody that's been around since I was, you know,
yeah.
It's one of the very first things I can remember, and one of the very first names I remembered. You know, from the Cryptkeeper, seeing that name pop up. Yeah, so.
Yep. Yeah, I was just trying to hold my shit together.
I said titties out loud in the show. Wait till you hear that, people.
Mm-hmm.
It worked, but
it did.
My God.
Yep.
I was like, wait a second, why the fuck did I just yell out titties?
Oh my
So
God.
let me play that for you in a little bit here. John Kassir is also the voice of Elliot in the new Pete's Dragon movie. So we'll be talking a little bit about the new Pete's Dragon, which I need to go out this weekend and see, or this week or whatever. I need to get out and take the kids to it because I hear it's wonderful. So
the weekend's almost over, so you need to do it today.
I gotta figure it out. So
Get your shit together.
I know, Jesus.
God, Sean.
But today, as we're recording, it's my wife and I's 12-year anniversary. So I doubt I'll be taking her to Pete's Dragon.
Happy anniversary.
Happy
Thanks.
anniversary, Sean.
Heck yeah.
So, funny story about anniversary,
Oh.
since we always get personal every once in a while. My mom did this, like, big thing for my aunt and uncle one year when they were down here. They're from Ohio. They came down to visit in Florida. So we had, like, a anniversary party. So my mom made, like, all this shit, you know, all this food, and, like, just a really nice, like, little get-together for the family. She had this big poster. And my mom's, like, super smart. Like, you know, straight A student. Like, she's one of the smartest people I know. She's really good at spelling. But on that poster, she put Happy Anniversary. So we got so used to saying that when I was little that every time I say it, like, I almost say Anniversary to people without thinking.
That's hilarious.
So I almost said Happy Anniversary by accident. But anyways, yeah,
Nice.
it was, so it's a family thing. We always say Happy Anniversary.
No, it's good stuff.
That's great.
We went out to
I was
the
like-
wineries last night and had some drinks and everything. It was
You a
fantastic.
little drunk, Sean? You a little hungover?
No, not that much.
No.
I still have to drive, so I'm not, you know, got her drunk though. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Oh,
Heck
this is getting a little weird.
yeah. All right. Anyway, before we drop off a cliff here,
Yeah, we
let's
do that.
jump
And
into
do that often.
let's jump into what's on our doorstep.
Holy cow, I almost forgot.
We'll get the door.
All right, BJ, what do you got?
So,
Wow, okay.
Shit.
I'll
That means you watched
start.
stuff off Netflix, didn't you?
Oh, I
That's the-
sure did.
That's the Netflix talk.
So the one good thing that I started because of Netflix is they recently put on Final Destination 3. It's the only one of the Final Destination films available on Netflix currently,
Oh.
but I own all of them, so it's not like it matters.
That series so underrated.
That's
Aside
what
from
I came
4.
here. That's what I came here to say today. Is I'm watching Final Destination 3, which I probably haven't watched in a good 5 years.
It's so good.
One, the deaths are just fantastic. I forgot how effective all of them are in this movie, but I don't know if they just decided, you know what, every shot we learned in film school, we're just going to throw in this movie, because there is a split diopter shot, and then 5 seconds later is the perfect match cut of the burning tanning beds immediately into the matching coffins, going
it's
into
beautiful.
the
It's
ground.
one of my favorite. I tweet that every once in a while. I'm like, this is the best transition,
It's so
in horror.
good.
It's beautiful. And dude, playing Love Roller Coaster during that whole sequence while they're fucking burning.
It's
Oh
great.
my god,
It's
it
so
gives me goosebumps.
fucking good. And this is the start of the Mary Elizabeth Winstead big-eyed cry face that she's become known for.
Nice.
She's so good in this movie.
She's so pretty.
But I decided that because Final Destination, Scream was definitely part of my growing up, and I know I've talked all the time about how Saw affected me as a horror fan, that being my franchise. But Final Destination is also one of those franchises because it premiered when I was old enough to actively seek it out on my own and not have to have it presented to me by my parents or somebody older or whatever. I discovered that with my friends. And that series as a whole is, I think, just so much fucking fun. And I don't understand people who can't enjoy that or let themselves enjoy it. It's mainstream schlock, and we don't get that very often. And not only that, but they're just creative, and they're fun, and they're funny.
And they try to do something new each time in a way.
Right. And
that's what I enjoyed about it.
And the difference between Final Destination and Saw is that while they both have very nasty ways of killing people and very unique ways of killing people, Saw has such a mean spirit behind it, and Final Destination, it's they're having fun with it.
Because you want to see them, yeah.
Right. And the gymnastics death in Final Destination 5 is so effective that, oh god, I was watching it and I knew exactly how it was going to happen, what was going to go down, but the build-up that they have to a lot of these kills where it's this total misdirection where you think this is what's going to happen and then it just doesn't, is so well crafted. And I think that more people need to rewatch these films and gain a new appreciation for them. We remember the kills, we remember all of that fun stuff, but we forget also that the first Final Destination has, that drop dead hit by a bus death, which now gets used all the goddamn time in other films. And it's there you go. That's where it came from. It's been done before, but that's what put it into the public eye. So rewatch that. Highly recommend it. Do it again.
It's great. I love those films. I think two's my favorite. I think it goes 1, 2, 5, 3, then 4.
Yep, that's exactly how I rank them too.
But as a whole, I've recently, it's been a few years, but I watched, when 5 came out, I watched all of them. Fun franchise for sure.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
The Olympics, man, Final Destination shit's been going on there.
Dude, right?
With the weightlifter and then the gymnast guy. I'm they lived, but Jesus Christ.
When I saw the gymnast guy's leg, that was my first thought, I was Final Destination's just a movie, y'all. Calm down.
Yeah. That weightlifter. I didn't see the video of that, but the video was enough for me. Oh my God. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes me, oh God. It was awful.
Let's just say bones go pop.
Through the elbow. In a way they aren't supposed to.
No, hold on.
So yeah, rewatch Final Destination. Great thing. The deep, Netflix sigh. I checked out Rebirth. It is a Netflix original starring, God, what is the actor's name? Who's in a lot of Joss Whedon movies. He plays the stoner in Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I don't know the name.
I don't remember your name. I'm sorry. I'm an asshole. So he's the lead in it.
He's listening to the show and he's God damn it.
So he's the lead, and it's basically this one friend is convincing him, like, you work too hard. We need to, take you to this retreat called Rebirth, and you're going to find yourself, and life's going to be all better again. And it feels like Netflix made this movie forgetting that the game already exists. Because that's 1000% what it is. It's like, hey, we're going to fuck with you psychologically and, like, make you think your entire life is ruined. And then, surprise, now your life is better and everything's cool. But then it ends up being like, fuck it, I'll spoil the end. I don't care.
They couldn't title it The Game as a remake, so they had to change the name, so.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like, and I don't give a shit, I'll spoil the ending. The ending is that, like, now this dude is a spokesperson for this fucking pyramid scheme retreat. So, like, you follow him through this whole thing where he's, getting his life ruined. They're telling him horrible things. They're trying to make him, like, do weird sex acts to, like, find himself. And it's just this stupid thing of a guy for 2 hours being like, let me out, I don't want to be here. And them being like, no, you can't, we have to help you. And then by the end of it, he's like selling infomercials with his wife about why it's the best thing in the world. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, it would be as if you're watching the game and then Michael Douglas at the end is like standing there chummy with Sean Penn being like, this was the game is the best thing that could happen. I recommend it for everyone. Give me $59.99. Like, what? It was really, really shitty, and I was really unhappy with it, especially because Pat Healy shows up in it. And he's great. He's the only person who's adding some truth to this. Everybody else feels like, meh, we're in a shitty remake of the game. Whereas Pat Healy's like, I'm going to add depth to this character. And I'm like, I hope they paid you well, because you are so much better than this shit movie.
Fran Kranz, by the way.
Thank you, Fran Kranz.
Fran Kranz.
Who's the director on it?
I don't fucking know. It's a Netflix original.
That doesn't mean it's not anybody.
I know
just
that.
Just a fucking Netflix original.
But I'm just saying that's why it's like
Carl Mueller.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Did he do anything else?
He did Mr. Jones.
Oh, that's why. The movie that ripped off the Trick or Treat cover art.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, Mr. Jones is like one of those movies with so much fucking potential, but just doesn't do it.
And he wrote The Divide.
Oh, he likes rape.
Oof.
That movie is super rapey. Well, has a weird rape scene. Very. Like, I guess all scenes are weird.
I don't know if there's a
but
good
one. That one's a
one.
Is there a good rapes? No. But no, it's like, that movie is just so, man. That movie makes you feel gross, like, in general, aside from the rape scene. But man, that movie is just, it's like you're guessing. It's like, oh man, if everybody could just go crazy and do what they want because there's no repercussions, this would happen. And everybody just does exactly that. It's like, come on, are there that many? Like, I realize there's a lot of shitty human beings in the world, but is there that many shitty human beings in this movie? Like,
well, it depends where you are in Florida.
It doesn't
Florida,
happen
man.
in Florida. Does it happen in Florida? Then if that's the case,
no,
it's pretty accurate.
It's just a Florida joke.
No, it's probably accurate. You're right. I'm sorry. The Divide's great. Thumbs up for The Divide.
Yeah, so that was not something that I would recommend. I mean, if you really want to watch a shitty remake of the game that's pretending it's not the game, knock yourself out. So I watched that. I watched They Are Watching.
Ah, man, that movie has so much potential, too.
Right. It started off, and I was like, I'm sold. This is a really weird way to start a movie. And so, for those who haven't seen it, it's one of my favorite ways to introduce something as being found footage, in that it's like a house hunters show, or like a flip that house show, where this woman has purchased a house that's kind of like known to be haunted, or there was like cult activity, witch activity going on there. And she bought this house anyway, and it's the video crew from the Flip My House show returning 6 months later to do like the checkup of like, well, let's see what's changed since she bought this shitty house. that's a really good idea to me. It's not a really good movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of paint by numbers and not in a good way.
Did you ever see Delivery?
No. Is it a better idea?
Well, they do, like, it reminds, because Delivery was the first time that I saw something like it literally starts out like a TV show. Like, with the, like the title across who people are talking about, the goofy ass music, and it's like, it was a pregnancy thing. It's like, oh, we're trying to get pregnant, and now the TV show is supposed to follow them during the birth, like the last, like, month, up until the birth. And then it all goes fucking crazy. Well, they are watching, kind of did the same thing, where it's like, starts off like a TV show. Like you're watching it on the E network or some shit in the 90s. And it has like the goofy titles, the goofy music, and then it gets serious. Delivery kind of does the exact same thing. They did it first. I claim that those people definitely saw Delivery and took that idea. Because, I don't know, that was pretty unique. Delivery's not great. It's got some cool moments, but, I'll
still check that out, though.
It reminded me of that.
Yeah, it just...
I thought the ending was fun. It was just really goofy.
Yeah, and I think that it was more goofy than it was movie for me. So I couldn't get into it. And I wanted to because they had me hooked at the opening, which in all the reviews I've read, everyone's like, I gave up, that opening was stupid. I was like, no, that opening's really funny. Like, I'm a big fan of this. And then it just didn't hold up or follow through for anything that I thought it would. So not so hot on it. I had already seen this next one, and I think we've maybe talked about it, but I don't think that I ever talked about it. I finally saw Holidays.
Yeah, I talked about it. Thank you. And like I feel like I'm the only one right now that thinks these horror anthologies are just really fucking tedious and just not very good. But
well,
finally,
the problem,
we're handling them correctly, but it's like they're not good stories.
Well, because the problem is, I understand that there's no money to make new films right now. I fucking completely understand that. Finding financing is harder than it ever was before because piracy, whatnot. I get that. So doing an anthology is a smart way for new directors or up-and-coming directors or established directors, for that matter, to be able to do creative work that isn't completely dictated by producers, by, what the fuck ever. I get that. The problem is that we've become so saturated with horror anthologies that everyone is just like trying to do something weird and different for the sake of doing something weird and different because there's just so many that are out there. So Holidays, I think, is, I can't even call it a mixed bag because it's not a mixed bag. It's like there's one that is carrying the entire goddamn bag and everything else is like rattled to the bottom of this shitty ass bag.
Which one did you enjoy? Because I didn't like any of them, like fully, but there was one that I thought was amazing, but the ending ruined it for me.
I liked Father's Day a lot.
That's the one with the woman that gets the tape?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing, aside from that ending.
Yep. Because one, it's Jocelyn Donahue, who I think is the most underutilized tool in the genre right now, because she's incredible. Like, that one alone was like, okay, yeah, I'm not upset that I sat through this entire film, because that was a stand-up piece.
Yeah.
I didn't dislike St. Patrick's Day. I thought that it was interesting. I thought it was very, like, Wicker Man-y. It just dragged really long. Like, it should have been, like, 2 minutes shorter, and it would have been perfect. Valentine's Day was a super disappointment for me because I love Starry Eyes so much, and I love those guys, and I think that they're very talented, but it feels like they didn't want to do something unique. They were like, hey, we're just going to pay homage to all of the, like, mean teen girl movies. It's one thing when you make your references and they're subtle or they're not winking at the camera, a la Stranger Things, which I'll get to. But this definitely, like, Valentine's Day felt like, hey, do you remember when the girl wears the hat and Carrie? Well, here it is. And it's like, I fucking got it. Like, you didn't need to do that. So that kind of set me off. And then the Kevin Smith Halloween one, all it did was make me feel justified about the time I was doxxed because I said that I didn't like Tusk. Like, fuck all of you. He sucks. He's a fluke. He's not good at what he does. And this short film is proof because it's fucking terrible. It is the worst short film that I've seen in probably 10 years. It's abysmal. And the fact that anyone let him do this or told him this was a good idea or told him that, yeah, go for this. Let's not make changes at all. You're all a bunch of idiots and should lose your job because it's awful. It's so bad. It's insulting. But yeah, the whole time watching that one, I was like, okay. Yeah, I'm fine. People can dox me and call my parents and say awful things because I say I don't like a Kevin Smith movie, and right now I don't feel that
Are there
at
really
all.
that many at this point say that his movies are amazing? I mean, I liked Tusk for what it was, but I mean, the last good movie I thought Kevin Smith did was Red State, and I think I was hoping he would do more of that, but he just hasn't.
Nope, it's just progressively gotten weirder and dumber, I think. Yeah, oh man, I was
more
real
power to him
upset.
for doing what he wants to do and not caring what anybody thinks, other than he blocked me on Twitter because I gave him shit one time, but yeah, other than that.
He's really mature. And then like a lot of people I know didn't like the Mother's Day segment, but that's very much Sarah Adina Smith's kind of style. Like I watched that and I was like, yeah, that's a movie she would make. So it didn't, bother me. So yeah, holidays. I have two more. The last one is Stranger Things, which I know you wanted to talk about, so we'll hold that. We could do that. But the last movie that I watched, and this is going to be a call to arms for people to help me figure out what the hell it's called, because I watched it on Netflix. I really liked it, and now I can't find it. Like, I don't know if it got taken down. It's not in my watching history.
It's not in your watch history?
No, I checked it and it's like not there.
That's
and I'm like, I watched
phantom level
this movie,
shit right there.
Right? I don't know. It glitched out and it's lost forever. So it's a movie about a guy who, in his mind, has accidentally killed his wife, and he is now in like this sort of limbo world where people who have killed other people all go to before they go to like the afterlife. So it's like their version of limbo, but it's like a therapy where it's like all these people are like, so why did you kill your parents? Why did you kill your husband? Why did you kill whoever? And part of that therapy is that every day they go into these rooms and they basically have to live out them murdering their person over and over and over and over again.
Cruel and unusual.
Thank you, for the love of God.
The things you find when you just type "guy kills wife Netflix movie."
Yes, that's what it is.
Cruel and unusual.
Thank you. It's been bothering me for days.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so first of all, like the concept itself, I think is very, very interesting, and that it's how do you figure out why you did such a bad thing, make you relive it over and over again. And it's really fucked because like one of the guys that's in this therapy session is a guy who used to be like a horrible alcoholic, and to get back at his wife, he drowned his children.
Jesus.
So now he's, been in this world where he's not drinking, he's dead, and every day he has to go into a room that takes him to a creek and he has to drown his children over and over again. And it's like, that is so heart-wrenching and terrible and like fucked, but it plays with some really cool elements as far as like how we recognize our mortality, how the little tiny things that we do in our lives have like the butterfly effect of, these great big things, but that it also has like this weird otherworldly thing because all of the teachers and like the therapy leaders in this are talking heads on like a really old television, like a big butt television. It's just like these angry looking people yelling at you and asking you like, why did you do this kind of thing? But it's really, really cool. And I really enjoyed it a lot. And I would love to see more stories in that world. It's one of those movies that I don't think lends itself to like a direct sequel, but I think could lend itself to like similar to like The Purge, where you can tell all of these different stories based on this one idea. I think this film has
Maybe the guy that made Rebirth can do it.
Oh, God. Gross. But yeah, no, I really liked it a lot. I think that it's pretty heavy at some moments. Like, one of the kids in the therapy session is like a teenager who killed his parents, feels no remorse about it. So that's when you get like the wide range of people that did this horrible thing and are now spending the rest of eternity paying for it. And then there's people that are like, oh yeah, I'd kill my parents in a heartbeat. I'd do it every day. And you're like, oh yeah, I forget. Like, that's the range of people that kill in this world. But no, I really recommend that one. I don't think a lot of people are going to, like it. It is a little problematic with some of the relationships that are in it. When you see it, you'll understand what I'm saying. But I really liked it a lot, and it was one of those ones where, like, I felt myself, like, not texting, not looking at my phone, not doing anything, because I really wanted to know more about the mythology and how everything in this movie works. So, Cruel and Unusual. Cool. That's the title of it. Thank you, Sean.
It is on Netflix. I just confirmed that, so.
What the fuck? So, yeah, my Netflix glitched out then, and now I have to find it and rate it and do whatever so that it'll stay in my history. But yeah, there's that, and then Stranger Things, which I'll wait for you to talk about.
We can talk about it now. I mean,
okay.
My wife and I started watching
it
a couple weeks ago.
Beautiful, so natural.
Thanks, Brad, for interrupting that. No, we started watching it a couple weeks ago, and I've been trying to, like, instead of binging it, trying to space it out so we can actually savor it, because I was enjoying it so much. But we just finished it the other night, and I loved it. I loved it. For what it was. I thought it was a great, exercise in episodic storytelling and, the style and everything. And I talked about it like a couple weeks ago anyway when I had started it, but I think the way it wrapped up, they did just a fantastic job kind of dangling a few things, but not over dangling loose threads, I think.
Right.
So I want to hear your thoughts on it though.
So I spread it out like you did. And I watched it over a long period of time. And then I went back and I binge rewatched it.
That's what I need to do.
I think it was the smartest thing I could have done, because I caught so many things doing that I wouldn't have during like the spread out watching. I love Stranger Things a lot. And I think that it's interesting because a lot of people are claiming, oh, this is nostalgia, this reminds me of my childhood, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. I didn't grow up then. Like, I grew up in the 90s where mom and pop video stores were replaced by big box video stores, and Dungeons and Dragons were replaced by Mario 64. Like, that's the difference. So I don't really have that. Like, I understand the aesthetic, I understand the nostalgia of it, but that's not my life and my story. And to know that if you take that away, it's still a very heartfelt and genuine television series. And like the story that they're trying to tell is very authentic just to the human experience, not necessarily to the human experience of people who lived in like 1984. Mm-hmm. I think speaks volumes about the writing for that show. I mean, the kids are kids and they stay kids kind of, I don't want to say kind of forever, but like all kids act pretty much the same way regardless. They're swearing when their parents aren't around. They're thinking that everything that they're doing is the most important thing in the entire world. And that's just a universal thing. And that show, I think, recognizes that. I don't want to get super analytical on it. Mm-hmm. Because nobody wants to hear that, but it's incredibly smart. It has excellent commentary on a lot of things that are still issues today. I thought that it was a great not mismatch, but a great blending of references without it ever being like winking to the camera.
Yeah.
Like there are so many things about it that we look at and we're like, that's E.T., that's Alien, that's, Stand By Me. Obviously, we get that, but it never feels like it's being forced down our throats. And the one thing that's been driving me fucking crazy is that there's been all the people saying like, oh, well, that kid had an Evil Dead poster and that one had the Thing poster and neither of those movies were successful, so those kids wouldn't have those posters. Okay, if that alone is what is pulling you out of this, then you didn't like the series in the fucking first place.
Right.
Because
But
if something that trivial is driving you crazy, then fuck off. Like,
I think those kids would like have those posters anyway if they're those kids the way that they're portrayed. I knew kids like that, and they were the ones that would seek out the weird stuff.
Right. Like these are the loser kids. They're like, yeah, the popular kids like the Tommy H and the Carols, they wouldn't have the Thing. Mm-hmm. But Jonathan Byers probably would because he's a pretentious idiot, which is like the thing they say the whole time, like that he's a pretentious loser. Pretentious loser would have a Thing poster in 1982. But
I'm not looking at that closely.
Whatever.
I could care less.
Right. It doesn't fucking matter. It's a set piece. Calm your shit. So like stuff like that's been, kind of driving me a little crazy that people are getting that pinpoint, like that persnickety about it, mm-hmm. where it's like, just fucking enjoy something. Like this is a really, really well made television show. It's, bringing together all of the things that we love. Just let yourself enjoy it. Don't like surgically dissect every little thing about it, because I think like Dead Poet Society is real, guys. Like it's becoming a thing. Like when you start treating it like a science, then you stop enjoying it. Mm-hmm. Like you have to let yourself experience it, get that experience, and then go back and analyze it, which is why I binge watched it. Like, cause right now my big thing is, how nobody is addressing the fact that after Nancy talks to the police, she makes the comment about like, why are they even asking me about whether or not I slept with this guy? That has nothing to do with finding my friend. And it's like, holy shit, there you go. There's commentary on how we treat people or how we treat women who mm-hmm. do things sexually and then have to go to the cops. Like, no one's talking about that. That's an important thing. But that's not the only part of that story. So that's why you gotta get the experience first.
I just want to sit and watch those kids play Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I want to sit with them in 10 hours and just watch them play.
I would watch it. I am also a big fan of the fact that Dustin, the kid with no teeth, and then Lucas are both Broadway kids too. Okay. So all these videos are popping up of that. Like, I want to say Lucas was like an understudy for Simba in The Lion King. So like all these videos are popping up of them doing like Broadway stuff. I'm like, this is the cutest thing.
Amazing.
And then Mikey, the kid Mikey, his name's like Finn Wolf something, like a name that you think is fake, but it's not. He's playing the Seth Green character in the It remake.
Oh.
Which makes me really excited to see the It remake, one, because the original It's terrible, and two, that kid's great. So
did you know that the Duffer Brothers auditioned or did a treatment for the It remake, and they got turned down, so they went and made Stranger Things.
Whoever turned them down probably feels real stupid now.
They're like, fuck.
Because I read the thing about how the show had been rejected 20 plus times.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody like that rejected it said you either need to make this a kid's show or focus solely on this, the sheriff. And I am so glad that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because with that in the back of my mind watching it, I was like, if we would have done the kids thing, this wouldn't have been nearly as impactful. And if we would have followed the sheriff, this would have been so fucking boring. And it just would have been like an attempt to carbon copy The Walking Dead, and that would have been terrible.
Yeah. No, it's great. They balance everything fantastic. Brad, you've seen Stranger Things, right? You haven't talked about it?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan.
What are your thoughts?
I as everybody knows, I'm not a fan of television to begin with, so I enjoyed it immensely, so that should mean something for anybody that actually takes my opinion seriously. My biggest issue with it, and it's not an issue yet, but when the second season rolls around, if a lot of questions aren't answered, I will drop out, because I'm not a sucker for television shows to like just kind of make things interesting but not answer them, like kind of like Lost did. Mm-hmm. So I will give it a second shot, but I'm also kind of like open-ended stuff is fine. Like you can do that. You can leave stuff for your imagination, suspension of disbelief and stuff like that. Very much kind of like X-Files episodes are. It ends and not all the questions are answered, but that's kind of the fun about it as well because they can't answer them. I don't like stuff that can be answered, but they just won't, or they don't ask questions about it. Like we know that, Scully and Fox, they very much like, well, I mean, later in the seasons, but at first, Spooky Mulder, he knows everything about it. He investigates it until, almost the brink of his insanity at the same time. He has a past. So when you establish a character like that that's knowledgeable, it's different versus, these ignorant kids that never dealt with anything like this before, now are dealing with it, and also adults at the same time. Like, I just hope that questions are answered. I am going to watch it again just in case I missed something, because you even said you did, BJ, or I don't know if that was maybe social commentary or actually stuff from the story.
Both. Yeah. I missed some social commentary, and then I missed, like, really... because there's so much nonverbal acting in this show that you have to pay attention, because sometimes the answer that you're looking for wasn't said out loud. And I think that that's really telling about kind of the culture in which we watch things, is that, I'll admit the first time I watched it through, I'm dicking around on Twitter and whatever, like live tweeting the fact that I'm watching the show and being super pumped about it. I missed stuff. Because, like, you look away for a second, you might miss something really important. Mm-hmm. Also, shout out to Amy Cements having, like, random cameo appearance and being awesome.
That too, yeah.
Oh, that was so nice. I think, like, going off of what you were saying about how, like, now we're dealing with these, they're not, Fox Mulder kind of thing. I think what's really interesting about the show is that it also, you have the kids who are, like, gung-ho fantasy, this is how things work. You have the teenagers who are somewhere in the middle where they have a little bit of logic, but they haven't fully let go of that, like, childlike wonder. And then you have the adults who are just having their sanity questioned because nothing should make sense. This shouldn't be a thing, but it is a thing. And they're all going on these separate paths and not really accomplishing anything. But it's when they all kind of bring their ideas together that everything works out. And I think that that's really important. It's important for children to realize that, hey, your ideas are just as important as adults. And it's important for teenagers to accept, like, hey, it's important to grow up, but it's also important not to lose that childlike wonder. And then for adults, it's important to, like, not get so cynical and bogged down with, like, logistics and, like, let there be wonderment, like, let there be curiosity, let that still exist. Because when all of those things work in tandem, like, that's when things get solved and that's when things work. And I thought that was a really beautiful sort of story that I think we're so focused on, it's about the kids. It's like, yeah, but it's just as much about the adults as well. And it's just such a well-crafted film. And I hope that since Netflix was very much like, we like the show as is, do what you want to do, that this doesn't have like a True Detective season 2 thing where like the first season is so unique and original and then the second season just becomes like a paint by numbers fucking cop drama kind of thing. I hope that that's not where the show goes, but I don't think it will, because Netflix is really good about letting their creators do their own thing.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts. There's a lot of them.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. The only movie that I really got to was Arrow's release of The Zero Boys, which is a flick by Nico Mastarakis.
Yes.
And
that sounds good enough.
Brad had talked about this movie on the show before. My first experience with this film was just seeing the cover that Arrow put together for it, which is just fantastic. Looked right up my alley, but I was kind of waiting to see, hear from Brad and some other people what they thought about it. So when Brad reviewed it, I I decided to pick this up and give it a chance and give it a watch. And I absolutely adored it. A lot of fun. And because I had so much fun with this, I went out and grabbed Hired to Kill by Masterakis. But anyway, this stars Kelly Maroney and has music by Hans Zimmer. So once I saw that too, I was totally hooked. But I had fun. It's this survival horror action flick with some 80s goofiness kind of thrown in, and just a lot of fun. So I definitely recommend everyone check it out for sure.
I love Kelly Maroney.
She's fantastic.
She's great.
But there's just like, I don't know, there's just so many little touches to this film that make it kind of goofy, but it's also like you can tell that it was like it's well made. Like they gave a shit what they were doing, because there's some pretty amazing like cinematography in the film, that I wasn't expecting from a movie like this. Like there's a scene with two guys are checking out the barn across the way, and the way the camera was moving around the characters as they were discovering things and checking out that room was very, very confident, very well done. And then, I don't know. I think I was surprised at the craft that went into this, because I was just
I mean, it's a silly survival action horror film, but with so many cool little touches and great cinematography and cool characters and chemistry that it works.
Yeah.
It's not often we get to see something goofy, and it's goofy for goofy's sake. And sometimes we get something that's super polished, but there's no substance there, or it kind of loses us. Mm-hmm. This film has kind of both. It has the goofiness quality and the well-made quality. It keeps us kind of on our toes, like the fact that they have live ammunition.
Right.
Why?
It makes no sense. They do these military games with it's like paintballs, right? Or something like that, right?
Yeah. But I mean, they literally have live ammunition. It's like, wait a second. If you guys are doing this for fun and you're shooting each other, why do you have like a stockpile of fucking ammunition? Like, you have maybe, a magazine or something like that with a couple rounds, but dude, like you're full on like stockpile, like a fucking Maximum Overdrive basement in this bitch. So, but yeah, I agree. It's a lot of fun. I'm not a fan of Island of Death by him, that we covered, episodes back. But, you said you got Hired to Kill. Hired to Kill's fun. Brian Thompson is always, I think Brian Thompson is a little underrated, because I don't think he's given the roles. I know people are probably, like, people that actually listen to the show and are like, no, Brian Thompson is, they're probably laughing. But seriously, him as the night slasher in Cobra, he's fucking great, man. Like, the Cobra is like a really well-made, like, action movie slasher. It doesn't get categorized as a horror film, but it kind of is. Like, Cobra's like a great little action slasher.
Yeah.
That doesn't, like, movies like that don't exist. That's the reason why I don't think we classify it as a horror film. It's because it was so new. Like, why are we watching this? It's the same thing with the Zero Boys. It's kind of a slasher. It's kind of military. It's survival horror. I think it's a mixture of things. But Brian Thompson, aside from his role as Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat 2, he's decent. He's a fun actor, and in Hired to Kill he does a great job for, it's for what it's worth and for what the film is and what he has to go on. I've compared it to like a PG-13 Andy Sedaris film, without titties.
Okay, that got me hooked. Now I want to see it.
Yeah, and it's Brian Thompson's he's military, and he's hired to train these 7 women to become assassins to go kill this Oliver Reed. It's Oliver Reed actually, which is really bizarre because Oliver Reed's such a standout actor that he's in this like goofy action movie. But I think it's Oliver Reed. I'm pretty sure it's Oliver Reed. But anyways, I kind of blacked out there for a second. I can't remember if it's Oliver Reed now. Because I know Oliver Reed's in Venom, which I thought was odd, but it worked. But anyways, really fun flick. I imagine you'll like it, Sean.
Cool. All right, that's all I got. So, what you got, man?
Sean?
I know.
That's all you got?
That's all I got, man. We gotta wrap this up soon because people are like back. John Kassir's coming on the show, and they're just talking about movies. What's up?
I think that's what we do, though.
I know. What you got, man?
First up, I have Arrow Academy, their release of the Oxbow incident, which was actually up for Best Picture against Casablanca. Like, isn't that crazy? Like,
that would never happen ever again.
It will never happen again, seriously. But they lost out. Henry Fonda, Anthony Quinn are in this flick. It's from 1943. Yeah, 1943 Western. It's about about these two guys that are going through this town, and they realize that one of the locals, who is a cattle farmer, is killed and his cattle is stolen. Being that the town knows about it after it's publicly splayed out there, and the sheriff's out of town, basically the townspeople get together and basically make themselves sheriffs and create a posse to go after these vigilantes. So it's a cool film with camaraderie and kind of it has the vigilante side with them too, because they're not sheriffs, they're not police, they're not police officers, they're not detectives. I mean, this is fucking set in like the 1800s or some shit. So like, nothing like that exists. You just have maybe the sheriff and, a bunch of other farmers and, shopkeepers and stuff like that. So these people get together, and unite, to go after these, criminals. Very, very well done. Not super action packed, which I was kind of hoping for a little bit more action, but, just a lot of dealing with them not being, sheriffs and fucking cowboys and shit like that. But a lot of fun. I definitely like this better than Casablanca. So in 1943, I would have voted for the Oxbow incident.
There you go.
Next up, I won't spend too much time on because everybody knows it, but I got around to watching Jaws 2. Jacob Q. Knight on Birth Movies Death, he said that it was basically a slasher in the water, but Jaws is the slasher. That's kind of how he proposed it, and that kind of turned me on to it. As much as of a movie fan I am, I didn't see Jaws until the first time last year. It was one of those films that was always on television, always around, always on. And I had this kind of like common misconception that that I've seen Jaws, but I never really saw it as an entirety. So I sat down with a friend. He loves it. We watched it together. It's literally one of the best movies I've ever seen. Everybody knows that. So I was kind of, when I knew about the Jaws sequels, I was like, I'll get around to them eventually. They're released on Blu-ray. I didn't pick them up just mainly because I was like, okay, whenever.
They're diminishing returns. So
yeah. So I watched it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I like how some of the characters return, stuff like that. I didn't like how they passed off Hooper though, like so quick. Like I hate when we have to acknowledge that the other cast members in this film, so let's just do something that's like we just pass it off, and it's like no, fucking make it a little more intricate or something like that. Don't fucking just say I got him off with the phone. He's in another another country. No. I don't know why Roy Schneider just became like a little Jewish man, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Next up was Space Raiders. It was a film that I enjoyed when I was little. I was kind of scared of revisiting it because I was afraid that it would suck because I have this thing where I think a lot of people confuse nostalgia with good. And just because we loved it as a kid and remember it, doesn't mean it's still good today. And a lot of films are like that for me. Flight of the Navigator, Explorers, The Last Starfighter, even though I know Sean's a fan of.
It has problems. I recognize these movies have problems. But
there's, Three Ninjas was another one. Rewatching
Don't touch
those.
Shit on Three Ninjas.
See, we all have our things.
rewatching these movies, I don't enjoy them. Even when I'm showing Willow, you could see that she's even not interested. She did now she loves Three Ninjas. She even likes the sequels. But everything else, it's, I don't know. I think that, at this point in time, I view a movie as a movie and not whether I enjoyed it when I was a kid. I should still enjoy it today. I'm not like that. Another one was the Go Kids, which is known as The Quest. As the kid that played Elliot from E.T., he was in it. Watching those movies as a kid, I remember being so scared watching The Quest. Like, what was in the water? What was it? And then I'm watching it, and again, I'm like, how does anybody think anything's in the water? It's trash. Like literally, it's fucking trash. So spoiler alert, if you haven't seen The Quest. But anyways, it's just, those movies, they don't catch me like they did when they were little. I think there's movies that are made for kids, and then there's movies that are made for, audience. It's a mixture of kids and adults. And I think the ones that are kids and adults, they still stick with us. It's adults making movies that they wanted to see as kids, maybe kind of like Fred Decker with The Monster Squad. Richard Donner does a great job with even his, producing Tales from the Crypt TV show. Everything that Richard Donner's involved with, for the most part. He has this great, I don't know, his movies are timeless. Same thing with fucking Lethal Weapon and stuff like that. But Space Raiders, got around to watching it again. It still holds up. It's obviously, a take and rip off of Star Wars and the success of that. Corman produced movie it takes place in space, so you kind of know how that goes. You'll see revisit sets that you've seen in multiple films. But it holds up. I like it. I like the mixture of characters, costumes, special effects. I like how our guys are bad, but they, come across and have this kid with them that they accidentally basically get. And they kind of become heroes, and Hawk is the leader, and he looks up to Hawk. I kind of like that aspect. It holds up. Make sure you pick it up soon. It's been out for maybe a year or two, but it is a limited edition from Scorpion releasing. So, pick it up when you can. It's dropping in price. Originally it was $30. But now it's you can get it off Amazon for $17, something like that. Next up, I watched, this one was released this year. It's called The Triangle.
I've been wondering about this one, so
yeah,
I'm pumped to hear your review.
It's on Vudu. It's about a group of filmmakers, and they play themselves. They're real filmmakers. They've made a couple movies before this. They get a letter from their friend who is in this compound. They get a postcard saying, "Hey, come out here, document, bring your cameras. We need help." But it was "we need help," or "I need help" is underlined. So they kind of get worried. So they get their shit together. They go on a cross-country trip to go to, not cross-country, across the states. Is it considered cross-country if you cross in the United States?
Yeah.
There's okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
CrossFit.
Cross-country.
No.
CrossFit.
CrossFit.
Yeah, they all run. They
all
run
with
it.
that's
Yeah, they run as hard as they can, and they don't stop. So they get to their location. And then they're invited on the compound, and it's way back in, the desert. And they're going to document basically how these people live on nothing, pretty much. They grow and hunt and, everything they can. They don't have electricity or they don't have any electronics and stuff like that. They have electricity because they have a generator. And they do kind of socialize outside of the compound for additional supplies that they can't, make, there. And it forms a triangle. That's obviously why it's called that. But there's always this sense of dread that, the people are acting weird. So you're kind of oh, they're going to all die because these people are going to kill them. Feels like that, if this cultish aspect to it. It's just very uncomfortable through the entire film. And then it's kind of, spoken about that there's this cave that they're all kind of scared of, that's off in the distance, that, is a little way from their triangle compound. And that's where the story, evolves of what is in the cave, what it's doing, and kind of goes from there without spoiling anything, because obviously it's a brand new movie. I was on board 100% until kind of the ending. It lost me a little bit. Not that it lost me like I didn't know what was going on. It just lost me because I was like, whatever. But I do like how films do sense or can make you sense the dread that they're kind of oozing out of the screen, and the characters are uncomfortable. That makes you uncomfortable. I think that's really classy, and I think that's a cool way to have a movie unfold. Unfortunately, the ending did not make me like the entire movie. I felt like I watched something for nothing in that kind of aspect.
Does it make you as angry as like the ending of like Mockingbird?
See, I'm on
that's
complete
right. You like
opposite.
the ending.
I like the ending to Mockingbird.
That's right. Ugh, gross. Then I'll probably love the ending of the triangle.
So, speaking of endings, we'll go on to the next movie that has a cultish vibe too, is Sound of My Voice, that played at South by Southwest, 2011, I guess. So it's about, again, two kind of documentarian filmmakers, journalists that are married. They get themselves inside of a cult, and there's kind of a whole thing that they have to do. They have to wash up and clean themselves, like scrub, and get in these white gowns and be like, hoods headed into this car and taken to this basement of this dude. And they come to find out that the person that's leading this is a woman that complained. Brie Larson is it Brie Larson? No, it's Britt Marling. I get those two confused. Britt Marling's character is from the future of I think it's 2054. And she is there. She somehow came back. She kind of talks about that a little bit of how she kind of got back into this 2011, I guess. So she has stories. You're kind of always on the fence whether is this real? Is she from 2054? Is she crazy? Has she tricked everybody? Of course, the journalists, the documentarians are, they are skeptical about the whole situation, and her. And they want to kind of uncover and figure out for themselves exactly what's true and what's not. And that's that. But it's one of these movies that the ending is truly what grabs you and makes the movie what it is. Sometimes the ending of movies can make or break it. This one definitely makes it 100% fucking awesome. Like, I don't want to say anything because I feel like this movie's underseen. Yeah. But I don't. When you watch it, let me know what you think of the little girl that is in the film, especially towards the end. I think it's truly it's shot well. It's also eerie at times, even though it's not a scary movie, and you don't have like dread like you do in like The Invitation or The Triangle. It's just mainly like a state of confusion. Like also keeps you guessing of is she from the future? Is she not? Little clues like make you think she's from the future, and then she like has these little moments where it feels like she's screwing up, like she's getting, tripping over her own feet, trying to make it like she seems like she's from the future, but obviously she's not. Like I thought the great sequence was the Cranberries. When she starts singing that Cranberries song, she's like, "Oh, this is from sing a song from your time." And she starts singing that Cranberries song, and then someone says, "Hey, that song is like from the 90s. That's not from your time." And she's like, "Well, I don't know what was from my time or what was in the past because, I was wasn't even born when that song came out, so it's new to me. You know, that type of thing, which, yeah, I think that's like a great sequence in the movie. Makes you really guess, because she says some things that make you think, okay, well, if she is from the future, that would make sense, that type of shit. So definitely check it out. A really, really fun, great.
Where can you find it?
I watched mine on Vudu.
Okay.
The next,
I think it was on Netflix. I think I originally watched it on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's still there or not, though.
Okay.
Yeah. Great flick. Next up, I watched a movie here. I don't know if I'll talk about it. I just won't say how I watched it, mainly because I don't think you're allowed to do that. Are you allowed to say movies that you're like not out yet, that you're screening to program a festival? Is there like some type of etiquette for that?
If you're programming it, I don't think you're allowed to talk about it, but like if you're seeing it as like a critic, like if you saw something from Fantasia Fest to write about, then I think you're fair game. But I think if you're
this has played at theaters,
then yeah, you can talk about it.
Yeah, it's out there. It's not like it has special events that the filmmakers go out and put the film in the theater and have things like that.
Then,
so
it
has been publicly okay. That was my question. Like I know if it's like it hasn't been like seen by any, then obviously that's a no. But that I should have fully said my question first. But anyways, I got around to watching this. I remember this being a Kickstarter for it. The poster always got me. Kind of the promotional trailer, I guess it was footage from the movie, got me. But it's called The Barn. It is like, I'm usually not a fan of these movies that are kind of doing this nostalgia thing, like, oh man, we're gonna put like cuts and scrapes and cigarette burns on our movie with Final Cut Pro, and we're gonna have text like John Carpenter does in his movies, and we're gonna have a synth score, and it's gonna be total 80s throwback. Like, you can't, like, that makes me not want to watch the movie anymore. Mm-hmm. Because we're getting it's such a saturated thing with all these movies doing that, and it's like, man, this is just not good. Like, you know, at this point, it's becoming insulting as even movie lovers, because we're like, we get it, man. Like, you just make your movie. Like, we could totally watch your movie and it be 1080p without any cuts and scratches, and we could still feel the 80s vibe to it. Hey,
like The Guest.
Yeah, The Guest. You're next. Joe Bagos, Almost Human. Like, we get it. Like, you don't have to do anything fancy. You don't have to doll it up to make it more 80s. However, this film does this. It does all of those things. But it's fun, man. It's cheap. It's goofy. It's basically the barn, of course, in this town that houses this miner, this scarecrow, and this pumpkin head dude. And if you knock like 3 times, you make them rise. These stupid ass fucking kids do it. Then they run to the town next door, and then they get followed by these fucking ghost creatures things, and they just start killing everybody. It's super by the book. It's, you know, a movie that we've seen 100 times, but goddamn, it's fun. The special effects are great. The characters are really fun. The dialogue is so goofy at times, but at the same time, it's like so good. It's so cheesy. I don't know. I guess this movie kind of caught me off guard, because maybe when I saw like the credits rise and, you know, I kind of knew it was kind of 80s throwback, but I still wanted to see it. You know, I'm never going to not want to watch your movie. It's just you get an eye roll from me at first whenever I see, you know, like that other one that came out, Lost After Dark, that came out by Anchor Bay. Like, I'm just not into it anymore, but I'll still watch it because I like horror films. But this movie definitely hits on every note that I love. And the tagline is "Trick or treat, smell my feet, and die." I think that, like, they're not trying to hide anything. They know what this movie is, and they made the movie that they wanted to make, without saying, hey, maybe we should put this in for the fan. No, these guys are obviously horror fans themselves. They can't make a modern movie that does this, so they go back to 1989. Definitely a lot of fun. Hopefully it's out soon. It is doing like special event screenings and shit like that in different towns. So I'm hoping that, I hope somebody puts this out like on Blu-ray and not one of these smaller little companies that it gets buried on DVD and never seen of again. Because it really truly is a fun movie.
Awesome.
And last but not least,
Holy
say
shit.
the best for last. Best for last, Sean.
All right, here we go.
This movie is, I'll say right now, at least in my top 100 of all time. It's a new movie to me. So it's very rare I watch a movie and it's like, okay, this movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. Because I hate you come out of a movie, that's the best movie I've ever seen. It's the worst movie I've ever seen. No, it's not. Let it digest. But every once in a while, we watch a movie, and this is also from 1993. I think it's from 93. We watch a movie that definitely hits us in such a way that this movie's so goddamn unique. It is so fucking awesome. It's so bizarre. It's so weird. It's so suspenseful. You want to know what it is? It's called Suture. It's Arrow US released this recently. It's directed by Scott McGee and David Siegel. Scott Siegel. I almost said Scott Spiegel, who's director of Intruder. But anyways, David Siegel. I don't really know who these guys are, but it stars Dennis Hausbert and Mel Harris, which I think a lot of people know. The one dude is, I guess, the president on 24 or something like that. He's the black guy, which is funny. This movie's
He's the insurance commercial guy.
Yeah, there you go, Progressive or whatever. This movie's filmed in black and white. It's from 93, and the tagline is a thriller where nothing is black and white. This movie has such a fucking unique plot. It's like, I bet Tarantino jizzes all over this movie. It's a film noir at the same time. It is a wealthy white man has his half brother is a black guy, but it's so hard to explain at the same time without making it sound like it's a fucking stupid movie. The white guy who is Vincent and his black brother is Clay. They claim that they are identical without ever going into this dude's black and this dude's white, but everybody thinks that they look alike. So the plot is that the white guy, Vincent, wants to basically escape his life. So he invites his brother out and kills him. And not really, because he survives. But during his facial reconstruction, they use pictures of Vincent, the white guy, to reconstruct this black guy's face, but he turns out to be the black guy again, without ever actually recognizing that this is a white and black guy. Everybody sees him as the white guy. Hence the thing, a thriller that nothing is black and white, which also has some huge social commentary because no one's looking at this as a black guy. They're all looking at him as a white guy. So he has to prove that his brother is dead, the white guy. That makes sense? And I lose
really
everybody.
Interesting. No,
Holy
that's
moly.
really interesting.
It's really
see this.
it's really fucking cool. Oh my god, dude. It's so badass. It's trying to see past the whole black and white. Because as watching the movie, you're like, oh, duh, you know? Like, fucking blind man can see this, for Christ's sakes. But they don't. And neither do the characters. To the characters, they're identical twins as soon as everybody else. but even like everybody looks, it's amazing. It's such a unique plot, but it's handled in such a way that it makes it so suspenseful and so enthralling to keep. It just pulls you in. Like about as soon as the accident happens, within like 15 minutes of the film, and you're like super, because at first it's a little jarring because Vincent is like, "Hey man, you look good. Oh yeah, you look good too. We look alike. Blah blah blah." And it's like, wait a second, no, you don't. Like you're black. And you're like, you have the poor black man and the wealthy white man. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's really jarring. But then as soon as it's not like right out there in front of you. You learn through these other characters that meet up with them that, oh, this is Vincent. This isn't, who the hell's Clay? A half brother that's black. No, it's all white. It's crazy. But it's a really good fucking thriller. It's cool. Really good. It's very suspenseful. It has some crazy, like, just extremely suspenseful scenes. And if you look on the original poster art, that when he's wearing white, like there's just the poster alone where he's looks like he's in a bath. He's actually in a bathtub and he's holding that shotgun. And and the black guy's dressed in white, and the white man's all dressed in black, holding a handgun on the other side of the shower curtain. Good Lord. That sequence is fucking amazing. But, yeah, I think it's very underseen, because it was a movie that after I watched it, I asked a lot of people, and I only come across like 2 people that saw it. Most of the people saw it when Arrow released it. So, in 1993, that's the prime time for these fucking indie movies. Yeah,
because Soderbergh was championing this.
I mean, we had Reservoir Dogs that kind of kickstarted that whole thing. We had it before Reservoir Dogs, but it really, really kicked off this whole thing for indie thrillers. And we had a lot of indie movies that were sitting on the same shelf, I guess you could say, as these major blockbusters at the video store. And everybody was renting this shit, and they were popular, from like, I would say like probably like 91, 92, it started hitting. Where did Reservoir Dogs come out? 92? Anybody?
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. I guess.
Well, anyways, around that time, up until probably like, I would say 99. Yeah. I think that's when, because indies were extremely well made. They had popular directors. I mean, you could even say David Lynch, some of Soderbergh's films, David Lynch films, they were kind of almost portrayed as, indie meant something a little bit different back then, of course. Nowadays it's filmmakers with no money getting together, making money with friends. Independent meant something different in the 90s.
Yeah.
So it was kind of surprising that this film wasn't championed more, because it was so different and unique. It just wasn't cool and like a slick thriller like The Grifters. It was, something else. It's a totally different caliber of movie. I've never seen anything like this. Still haven't. Even who the fuck saw this movie and not wanted to do something almost identical? No, yeah. They haven't done it yet.
That's crazy. It's crazy I haven't heard about this one. I really want to see it, so I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I want to check it out. I was looking at pictures of it while you were talking, and it looks awesome.
Yeah, it's really fucking good. So I can't wait. Arrow's killing it, of course, but then they pull something like this along with their horror lineup. We got to pay attention more to their other films rather than the horror flicks, because if they're releasing shit like this under the table.
Yeah, their Arrow Academy stuff is well worth a look. So if you haven't checked out the
this is Arrow Video. This is an Academy.
I thought it was Arrow Academy.
Academy's in the UK, not over here.
Oh, okay. So they released it a US release too? So in the UK, they released it under the Arrow Academy.
Oh, okay. I guess they only have the one label over here. But yeah, it's one of those Academy labels where it's, like the Night of the Hunter and shit like that.
Yeah, it's worth checking out that line. If you have a region free, check out the Arrow Academy stuff, because there's some good stuff there. I think I got Dillinger on there. Haven't watched it yet, but. And Josh Obershaw joins us now with this week's news. What's up, man?
Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Going good. Can't complain. It's been a busy week, man. A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I know. Especially when it gets closer to Halloween.
It's ramping up for sure. What do you got for us today?
A little quick tidbit, movie-wise. I usually tend to avoid news like these, especially when it comes to like big franchises, because it's always changing, and it seems like when one person comes in and then something happens and then they leave, and it with this particular franchise that just seems to be the case. And apparently there's a new director involved in the next Friday the 13th film. This series has just been in limbo ever since 2009. But anyways, Breck Eisner, who previously did the remake for The Crazies and recently did the Vin Diesel movie The Last Witch Hunter, he's apparently in charge of this now. So I haven't seen either of these movies. So what are your thoughts about that, Sean?
Well, I think The Crazies is a decent remake. I mean, it's no Romero. I mean, I like the original better. It deals with that paranoia a lot better. But it's The Crazies. The remake is a decent modern retelling. The Last Witch Hunter is awful. Just like, I was hoping to go into it like just dumb fun, but it's just horrible. It's generic Hollywood filmmaking aimed at, the fantasy nerds. But it's just awful paint by numbers bullshit.
Yeah, I guess to get a better sense of what to look forward to if this guy sticks around, I might as well just stick in The Crazies. Like, I do own the remake. I just haven't watched it yet, so I'll probably do that.
It's decent. But I think the last Witch Hunter is just, he just got hired to direct the script. You know what I mean? It's just at that point.
Oh, I see.
Some of these directors take on these jobs and they just, there's only so much you can do with a bad script. So it's never 100% the director's fault. Now, a good director can take a shit script and really turn it around. But, sometimes they're just hired by big studios as just a hired gun. Do this, get the job done, we'll make some money because we have a good marketing campaign, move on. So, yeah, I don't know. I liked the last remake of Friday the 13th just fine. I was hoping they would continue on with that because I thought it was a decent setup and I loved how they portrayed Jason in that one. And, so it was Derek Mears.
So did I.
Derek Mears, right? He was Jason.
Yes.
And he's
He was an awesome Jason.
Yeah, so I don't know why they just don't build on that because they've already started something decent. Now they got to do another reboot. I don't, whatever.
That's just sad.
Yeah,
that's just sad. That last Friday movie was the most Friday the 13th movie of all the Friday the 13th movies that New Line had done. So that's really sad.
Yep. Oh well, it is what it is.
I just thought I'd open the discussion with this. Like I said, I usually avoid news like this. Like, for instance, The Crow is still trying to get remade, and I'm just like, guys, come on, just give it up, man. I mean, they just announced that they're in talks with Jason Momoa to star in it, and I just shook my head. I'm like, no. I'm just, no. But let's move on. Let's move on to happier news. Last week, I mean, there was a lot of exciting stuff regarding Vestron Video's collector series, and we've got details on Waxwork and Waxwork 2, Lost in Time. This is the double feature. It is going to be the 100-minute uncut version, yay. And the special features for this one, there's going to be an audio commentary with director Anthony Hickok and stars Zach Galligan on both of these films. And there's going to be a featurette called The Waxwork Chronicles. It's a 6-part featurette. There's a vintage making of featurette, and you've got the usual theatrical trailers and still galleries. So that's what we can expect from Waxwork.
Sweet.
And we also have an update on an Arrow release coming out at the end of September, and that is Slugs.
Mm-hmm. I keep asking Mike from Grindhouse Video, like, So what? Because I have it pre-ordered. So I was like, is this out yet? Is it shipping yet?
I saw this recently, and oh my god!
Yeah, it's not a good movie, but it's super entertaining.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But I just can't imagine seeing it because it's a high definition Blu-ray, a new restoration, and I don't know. I just can't fathom seeing a movie like this bad looking so good. It's gonna look well. I shouldn't say it would look weird. It's just strange that a movie like this could get this kind of treatment.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I can say that with no irony. I love it. I don't know.
Good.
There's a few of us out there that love it, but it's a goofy piece of trash.
Now, I'm not shitting on it whatsoever. I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because it is so bad. The Blu-ray is going to have 2 audio commentaries, one with Slugs author Sean Hudson and another one with writer and filmmaker Chris Alexander. And you've got Here's Slugs in Your Eye, which is an interview with actor Emilio Linder. They slime, they ooze, they kill. The effects of slugs. This is an interview with special effects artist Carlo DeMarchi. Invasion USA, an interview with art director Gonzalo. The Lion's Den, which is an interview and locations tour with production manager Larry Ann Evans. You've got a 1988 Goya Awards promo reel and a trailer, plus the reversible sleeve with new artwork from Wes Benscotter. And that one's coming out on September 26th in the UK and the next day here in the United States. Speaking of Arrow Video, now, all y'alls that weren't really thrilled with the October slate, the November slate is a lot better.
Oh yeah, man.
So why don't we go through these? Let's start with the UK first. I mean, they've got a couple of things that came out here in the United States, but I'm sure they'll be really, really thrilled to be getting these. Starting with Howling 2, Your Sister's a Werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty much going to be the exact same release one that Scream Factory put out last year. I mean, it's all pretty much all the same features. I mean, anybody here in the States that want to get this on Blu-ray, you're pretty much getting it for the new artwork, but it's a lot of the same features from the Scream Factory disc, which is cool. At least, our pals in the UK are getting it because that movie is holy shit. This is another one of those movies that is just so insanely bad, but I love it. And also, the UK are also getting To Live and Die in L.A., the William Friedkin classic from 1985. And the bonus features they got listed are, I believe they're all archival DVD extras from MGM's DVD. They haven't really announced any more features exclusively for the Blu-ray. I know Scream Factory are also putting this out in the United States, also in November, I might add, and they haven't announced their new extras yet. So that's what we can expect from To Live and Die in L.A. That is definitely one I'm picking up. So for both the UK and the US, we're going to be getting a new Blu-ray of The Initiation. Actually, this is the first Blu-ray release in the United States. There have been a couple of DVD releases, 2 of them by Anchor Bay. The last one was from Image. But the special features for the Initiation are brand new restoration, an audio commentary by The Hysteria Continues. Don't know who they are. Brand new interview with actor Christopher Bradley. Brand new interview with actress Joy Jones. The original trailer, a reversible sleeve featuring the original and newly commissioned artwork by Justin Osborne. And for the first pressing only, we're going to get a collector's booklet featuring new writings by critic James Oliver. This one comes out in the U.S. on November 8th and in the UK on November 7th. And also for both the UK and the US, we're getting Abel Ferrar's The Driller Killer. We're going to be getting this one in 2 different editions. We're going to be getting a limited edition steelbook as well as a regular edition. And we're going to have an audio commentary by director and star Abel Ferrara, moderated by Brad Stevens, who is the author of Abel Ferrara, The Moral Vision. And that one was recorded exclusively for this release. There's a new interview with Ferrara, Willing and Able, Ferraraology 101, a new visual essay guide to the films and career of Ferrara by Alexandra Heller-Nicholas, author of Cultographies, Miss 45. Plus, we also have Mulberry Street. This is Ferrara's feature-length documentary portrait of the New York location that has played a key role in his life and work. So this one is coming out at the very end of November, November 29th in the U.S., and in the UK, November 28th. And finally, the one U.S.-only release, Chud.
Yeah.
Motherfucking Chud.
Didn't I say last week that we have to be seeing a Blu-ray of Chud around the corner? I feel like I just said that because we were talking about Chud 2.
Exactly. You guys did mention that, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's just like, well, what do you know?
I think someone's listening to the show. You're welcome, everybody.
Oh, this is so great. This is one of those this is one of those monster movies I grew up with as a kid, and I'm really happy that this is getting a brand new release.
And from Arrow, man, it's just a company like them handling Chud is just fantastic.
And the art kicks so much ass. Mm-hmm. It's probably my favorite new art of this whole bunch. We're getting an audio commentary with director Douglas Cheek, writers Shepard Abbott, and actors John Hurd, Daniel Stern, and Christopher Curry. I don't remember if this is an old commentary or if this is a new commentary, but there are going to be brand new crew interviews and the original trailer. And for the first pressing, there's going to be a collector's booklet featuring new writing on the film. There's no author given, so I don't know. But we don't have an exact release date for this one yet, but it is part of the November slate, so pretty damn soon. So all in all, I think Arrow's slate just kicks October's ass.
Sweet.
Next up, Mondo Macabro have actually announced 3 new titles. They're the ones that put out Lucio Fulci's A Lizard in a Woman's Skin. They've got another one, if I can remember the title, Private Vices, Public Virtues.
There you go.
Good. Nailed it on the first try. So the next movies they've got coming up, one is a 1981 South Korean film called Suddenly in the Dark. That one is slated for early October 2016. Next up is going to be one from Jess Franco. Here we go, Jess Franco again. Guy's got so many goddamn movies. This one's called Night of a Thousand Sexes. This one is one of his films from the 80s. And if I'm not mistaken, it's actually a remake of one of his earlier movies. I don't have the title off the top of my head. They were going to announce 3 in one day, but they decided to hold off the last one. But now we know what that third one is. It's called In the Eye of the Hurricane. This is a Spanish-Italian giallo, and that one is going to be slated for late 2016 or early 2017. So that's what we can expect from Mondo in the coming months.
Cool.
And moving on, Tales of Halloween.
Yeah.
This was a really, really popular anthology that debuted last year, and it seemed to be like a really, really big hit with people. I still haven't seen it yet, unfortunately. I know, I suck.
Well, I think it was I thought it was on Netflix, or maybe I think I bought it on Vudu for it was super cheap, like $8.99 or something like that, or even cheaper on Vudu. So I've had this for a while. I'm surprised to see the Blu-ray treatment it's getting.
Oh, I know. It's coming out as a limited edition 4-disc set, and it's all region free too. I mean, the Blu-ray is region free, the DVD is region free. The 4th disc is all bonus material. That's all on DVD, but it is also region free as well.
Awesome.
And the 3rd disc is actually going to be the soundtrack to the movie with music from a whole bunch of artists, including Lalo Schifrin. that's amazing. And also Joseph Bashar is on the soundtrack as well. But there's going to be a whole bunch of deleted scenes, some extra film shorts. It's going to be an amazing package.
Yeah, this is one that I didn't like it as much as Trick or Treat, but it's definitely going to be a yearly staple to be, to play at some point during Halloween. It's a fun little anthology.
I think with Halloween coming up soon in a couple of months, I think that's going to be the time for me to dive right into that and see what I think.
Yep.
I'm really looking forward to that. So finally, what I have for you is one from Umbrella Entertainment, Australia's Umbrella Entertainment, who gave us the most recent Blu-ray release of Road Games.
And they've also given us a good version of Night of the Living Dead, 1990, a non-crappy color-coded one.
That's right. Well, they've got another treat for us. They're going to be releasing 1989's The Punisher, starring Dolph Lundgren.
So excited.
Oh, me too. And I know this has been put out on Blu-ray in other territories like Germany. I think Rob G from Shockwave said he had a German import of this. Mm-hmm. But this new Blu-ray is still going to be Region B, just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
But this is still going to be worth picking up because we're getting 3 different versions of this fucking movie. We've got the theatrical version, an unrated version, and a work print.
I'm so curious about the work print.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, okay, before I forget, we also got a new interview with director Mark Goldblatt and a new interview with the Punisher himself, Dolph Lundgren. There's also going to be a gag reel, too, which is, for a movie like that, a gag reel, I mean, yeah. I'm already sold.
Because the only DVD that I have is like completely bare bones.
Yeah, I have that same DVD.
Yeah.
And what's really weird, because I remember I first got this on VHS when I was in middle school, and I remember looking at the back cover of the tape, and there is actually a still of this part of the movie that I'm looking at and I'm going, I don't remember that. What the hell is this? I mean, so apparently it was something that was cut out from the movie. So that's the reason why I'm so excited to see this unrated version or this work print, just so I can know what the hell that scene actually is. Because for 20 some odd years, I had no idea what that was. I thought maybe it was, something from another movie that Dolph Lundgren and Louis Gossett Jr. had done before, because they have done another movie besides The Punisher. Don't even bother with that because it's not very good. I think it was called The Cover-Up. Yeah, I think so. But anyways, The Punisher coming out September 7th. So if Dolph Lundgren is still your favorite Punisher, then by all means, get your copy of this. It's going to be awesome. And that's all the news I have for you, Sean.
Wow. Good stuff, man.
Totally.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Keep up all the great work, and we'll talk to you next week.
We'll see you guys next week. Later.
Let's jump into this interview with John Kassir.
I'm still mad that none of you asked him about Reefer Madness, but hey.
We're going to be hearing about this forever now.
Probably.
All right. We'll jump into this interview with John Kassir, and we'll be back to wrap up. Well, we're extremely excited to have this week's guest, John Kassir, joins us, who all of you know him as the voice of the Cryptkeeper. John, welcome to the show.
Hello, kiddies.
Awesome.
Oh, man, I
Is
missed
this
that
Brad?
shit. I'm Brad, man. That just gave me some chills, and I almost brought a tear to my eye because I haven't heard that I mean, watching
Excellent.
the show over and over, but I mean, that's the voice I grew up with. So.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to have been a part of your nightmares. I grew up with a comic book, so I know how you feel. I was just really into it as a kid,
Oh, so that was a huge passion project for you too.
Oh yeah, when they told me they were making, I was doing another series for HBO at the time called First and 10. It was about a football team, and O.J. Simpson and Delta Burke and who else was on that show? Chris Maloney, a bunch of really great actors on it. But it was basically a fun show about football. And I played the Bulgarian field goal kicker. I could kick 60-yard field goals. He was Zagreb Shkanuski, Yalos Kaczynski. And, I had just recently had won Star Search as a stand-up comic and wound up doing that because I was doing an off-Broadway show about comedians. And they asked me to be on Star Search, and I said, I'm not really a stand-up. I'm just playing it as a part. And they said, well, you can win $100,000. I'm like, fuck, I'll do it. So, so I put together an act of doing all kinds of characters and voices. I would do, I would do The Wizard of Oz in 2.5 minutes, stuff like that. So HBO knew that I did a bunch of voices and characters and that kind of thing. So they asked me to come down and audition for the show. And I was like, wow, they're making Tales from the Crypt into a series, and I just thought it would be some, HBO was not nearly as subscribed to at the time. And, it was just really just starting to hit. First and 10 was its first series, and I'd also done some work, recurring on a show called Dream On. And so they were, making their way through just establishing what their Yeah, there you go.
I remember watching
10 for the same thing.
Yeah,
that was pretty much their. That was pretty much their MO. It's a sports comedy and tits. But
yeah, I mean that's what Dream On was.
Not necessarily in that order.
No sports, but yeah, I used to watch that. I mean, HBO was my go-to, and I remember watching. Was it Brian Benben was in that show?
Brian Benben.
Yeah.
Who was married to Madeline Stowe.
Oh, wow.
Do you know Madeline Stowe from Scandal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Madeline Stowe. I mean,
she was in
China Moon, I think, was another one of her movies, and Blink.
Yeah, she was in a bunch of great movies, back in the day. And, they're an unusual couple, but a good couple.
Yeah, man, I miss Dream On a lot, too. Jeez. I would imagine I would like it a lot more since I'm grown up. Well, I would say grown up. I just yelled out titties on the show. But, I was a big fan of that show for certain reasons. But then, Tales from the Crypt was, kind of that same slot on HBO. They would just run all those together. Dream On was, I think, on afterwards. But man, you're taking me back, John.
Well, hey, it doesn't seem so long ago to me.
So your career, you've done.
That's how young and old I am.
You've done, your laundry list of all the things you've been in and voices you've done is pretty extensive. Your career and it's and me kind of being, I've always enjoyed voiceover work. I used to want to get into it, and it was in radio for a bit, and so it's something that I always love, reading about, and whenever. I'll watch like the making of special features on animated movies just to see them in the booth, working on the character and recording and stuff, because I love watching it. How do you go about like choosing the voices? Do you just based on the character just try some things, or is it just
Oh yeah. Well, it's obviously they give you as much information as they can when you're auditioning for something. I mean, in the case of Tales from the Crypt, I had the luxury of going down to Kevin Yeager's studio because he's the one who initially was auditioning people for the voice, and so I got to see what the Cryptkeeper looked like, and I knew the comic book, and I knew that they had some copy, and I improvised some stuff, and I added in this cackling laugh, and I was seeing that the character had holes in his throats and stuff, so I brought all that texture to it and did it for Kevin, and he was like, he was not expecting that at all. And but very often I'll get just copy, or I'll get some copy and maybe some drawn pictures of what they're looking for. If I know the project, if I know the people who are making the project, I might get a sense of what the feel of it is.
Mm-hmm.
I work a lot for the guys that do Minions and Despicable Me movies and Secret Life of Pets and that kind of thing. And they just, they bring me and another group of, small group of people just to come in and do a bunch of voices each time they do a movie, because we know the style of what they do, and we'll come in and do a bunch of different things. So sometimes you're just hired just basically because they know that you get what they do. Mm-hmm. And then other times, you're just, you may do one or two takes, or they may give you a description that's, whether it's Batman Arkham or one of those games that I'm working on, and I know that those are a bit darker and a more realistic kind of tone to them. So you just like auditioning for anything else, you're trying to get a sense of what the project is, and you make those choices based on that. And sometimes it's just pissing in the wind and it works out. And then other times, you could have done a great job, but you just didn't get enough information.
Right.
Used to be most of my auditions, had to go down and there would be a voice director and that kind of thing. And they would give you more of a sense, and you would do something and they go, that's a little more over the top of what we're doing. Can you do this? But pretty much most of my auditions now, I do them at home. Mm-hmm. That's the way they do them now. My agents send me the copy and the auditions, and I record them at my home and send them as files to them, so they can send them out to the auditioners. And and then if there's some of the projects, if a big project, very often they'll go based on that and bring you and maybe one or two other people in, that they liked and fool around to see which one they're going to wind up going with. And then other times you just cast right off of what you auditioned for. So you can imagine you have to audition for a lot of stuff to get a few things very often.
Yeah.
But then a bunch of other stuff come in just based on your reputation. And, Pete's Dragon, which I'm currently in, doing the dragon voice, was just based on the fact that the director loved my work and brought me in to goof around one day to see if what I would do would match with what they were shooting. And that worked out great.
I'm so excited to see the film. My son, he turns 11 the day it comes out. Not 11. He doesn't turn 11. He turns 9.
Awesome.
So we saw the trailer, and I'm like over here like a weepy mess because I love the original Pete's Dragon. I mean, everyone dogs it, but I love the hell out of it.
Oh no, I was a big fan of that too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it was like the one thing I'd watch over and over again as a kid. So seeing the trailer from the new version, I was just like over here just having an emotional moment. My son's looking over at me like, that looks cool,
and
I'm just like,
film too.
I hear it's wonderful. Have you seen?
It's truly an emotional film as well.
Mm.
I
got to see it last night, right?
Yeah, we went to the premiere.
Nice.
Yeah, we had the premiere last night in Hollywood on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. They had a green carpet instead of a red carpet. It was a lot of fun. If you go on my Facebook page, which is just my name, John Kassir, Kassir, you'll see some photos that I posted. They had like a giant billboard sign that you could climb up from behind and get on the dragon.
Oh, nice.
Which was my wife and I got on there. That was pretty funny. I was like, hey, I'm riding myself. And then I took some nice photos of me and Oaks Fegley, who's 11 years old. Mm-hmm. And the kid who's the star of the film plays Pete, who's amazing. This kid is amazing. I wish I had his chops when I was his age. I would have had another 15 years added to my career. But the whole cast is wonderful. The film is beautiful. A guy, David Lowery, that made it, comes from the indie world, in the independent film world. And so it has such a personal touch, this film. If you loved the original, it's completely different, but you'll love this in the same kind of vein. It's a beautiful film, and it's shot in New Zealand, made to look like the Pacific Northwest here in the States, in the forest. And it's just gorgeous. Weta did such an amazing job on the dragon. It's beautiful. And, so I added my part to it and brought some emotion and everything to the dragon, but it's, bring you hanky. I dare you not to cry. It's, for all the right reasons.
Right.
And I'm sorry to say there's no boobs in it, but it's a great
I've
movie.
grown up, John. I've grown up.
If there's any consolation, Robert Redford's in it.
The handsome man.
Yes, he's a handsome guy still. He plays the older, crustier guy, but he's good. But yeah, it's fun because this was, having done stuff like the Cryptkeeper and Miko the Raccoon and Pocahontas and that kind of thing. It's all, my love of horror kind of, helped me develop that aspect of my vocal work, doing creatures and weird kind of monsters and that kind of thing in games. So, even getting this part in a wonderful family film, still has its roots somehow in my work in horror. So, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
So going back to kind of the auditioning process, do you prefer kind of that digital world now where you can record and submit like that, or were you more of the old school style of actually going to auditions, mainly to put a face with who you're speaking to?
Oh yeah, well obviously I miss that aspect of it. Plus, the voiceover world is, it's a great world of really wonderfully creative and a lot of the voice actors that I work with, we enjoy each other and have a great time. And you don't get to see them as much because you're auditioning from home, which we miss. But when we get a chance to go in and audition on site, it's fun because sometimes you have to read off of each other and that kind of thing. So that's a lot of fun. Of course, when we get some of these jobs, like I mentioned with the folks that make Minions and Despicable Me and that kind of thing, we get together with a small group of great people like Carlos Alazraqui and I were working yesterday with some other great voice actors, in that group. Sometimes we'll have Lorraine Newman and Jim Cummings and Lori Allen and some really good people. And the small group of us will just have a blast, coming up with different voices and doing weird group scenes of funny characters and that kind of thing. So, not having that opportunity, I miss that certainly, but of course I can do a lot more auditions here from home. It's great not getting out of my pajamas and doing, starting my work day.
Yeah, definitely. It was just more or less getting notes from people. Like if you're at the audition, at least they can say, hey, can you tone it down a little bit or do something different? Is that the same process, or do they just say, well, this guy's not it, and move on to the next one? Do you have a chance to redeem yourself?
Well, the other downside to it is they can get a lot more submissions. I mean, they used to get 15, 20 people in, and it was between us. We knew one of us was going to get it. Now they can get a couple of hundred submissions, and somebody's job is to go sift through those and go, oh, this is this, and this. I'll bring this to my people and see what they think. So you may have done something really great that they may have liked and it never even got to them. So you don't know. Obviously with, my reputation and my, experience of being able to deliver, most of the time they're going to listen to mine just to see if it's something that they would go with. But you just don't know. I mean, there's so many great people out there, they listen to yours, they listen to his, and they go, you know what, this is more what we are thinking in terms of the animation, or this is what we were thinking, in terms of the feel of the other characters, or we liked his voice for this, but we have a guy who's playing another character that sounds a lot like that. I mean, there's those kind of things come into play, and it's basically their project. They spend a long time getting it sold. They spend a lot of time putting it together, and you're just, you're offering up your take on it and hoping they want to include you in your project. Back in the day, I put together a lot of my own projects, and that was a lot of fun for me. But of course, I needed to make the call on who I was going to hire or use and that kind of thing. And it's not always an easy process. So, I feel fortunate every time I get a job, no matter where it comes from. And, I have a good time doing it. Obviously, I feel like I've earned it over a long period of time. But, it's fun working with friends, too, or people that you get to work with on a regular basis. That's always a great thing because you already have shorthand. You show up and, you delve into it. And, when you have a good voice director, for instance, that you work with a lot, they can say one word or give you one kind of short direction and you know exactly where to go with it. and it's pounding it back and forth like tennis. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Now, starting out when you first got into the business, were you wanting to be in front of the camera too, and then what evolved first?
Well, I mean, I started in the theater. I came out of college and I had my first off-Broadway show right out of college, and lived in New York. And of course, I wanted to be a theater actor. That was my training, and I made more money street performing in front of the Metropolitan Museum than I ever made in theater. It just doesn't pay very much. And I did some Broadway and off-Broadway musicals and that kind of thing. And then after winning Star Search, that launched me into the TV career. So I mostly did, television comedies. If check out my IMDb, you'll see that, I have a long list of series that you guys are probably too young to remember. Except for, like First and 10 and Tales from the Crypt. It wasn't until I got Tales from the Crypt that I actually even started a voiceover career. People would ask me, to come in and if I had the time, but I was, extremely busy, which was good for me, including, going on the road as a comedian and doing those shows and then doing First and 10. And I was doing some network series, one called FM and a bunch of other stuff. At one point I had my own kid show on the USA Network, which was kind of like, imagine, Mike Myers having his own kid show playing all the characters and pulling kids in through the TV set that had some kind of thing, and I'd take them on some kind of adventure. And it was called Johnny Time. I should put that on YouTube. It's got some great stuff in it. It's pretty out there. We found that it skewed really well to kids and stoners. But originally when we came to USA to do that show, we were going to be the flagship for their children's programming, but they wound up not being given the budget that they wanted in order to create a children's programming. So I kind of was like the only kids show on the USA Network. So we were the lead into the WWF on Sunday mornings, which was kind of fun and bizarre. But we were, our audience were kids and people who had stayed all night smoking weed and going, this is really out there. It was kind of a psychedelic kid show.
That's amazing. Was that intentional to try to reach those true? Was that like those two?
Well, originally
audiences?
It was conceived to be a kid show for.
Yeah.
Well, originally my writing partner Jerry Colker and I had created it as an idea. The idea was to be a kid show for adults.
Okay.
Kind of like Uncle Floyd or something that they have back in New York or that kind of thing. It was supposed to be something that would have been on at 1:30 in the morning, produced out of a garage.
Right.
I mean, that was supposed to be the feel of it. But then when we started pitching it to the production company, and the network, they were like, this would be a great kid show. Can you do it as a kid show? I go, yeah, we can do it as a kid show, instead of the kid having, instead of being a stockbroker that, is trying to, save his company on a kid show, it'll be, a kid that lost her braces,
Right.
So, but, that was, I was really grateful for the voiceover work, and I still do a lot of on-camera stuff. I, recently did a really great NCIS where I played, a friend of Robert Wagner's, and I was an art forger, and it was a lot of fun, and got to play the Pope on Hot in Cleveland on a date with Betty White, which was really funny.
Nice.
That's such a bizarre show. Can you imagine? It's like pitching that idea. Okay, well, on this episode, Betty's on a date with the Pope. It's like, how are we going to get the Pope? I don't know. I bring in John Kassir and play the Pope and shoot over his shoulder. It was like, that's what they did, and that's what we did, So I still get to do that. And of course, that uses a lot of my skill set that I was trained to do that I don't get to do. I'm shooting a film right now, an independent feature, and I get to play it kind of like an interesting psychologist, professor kind of guy. And, those are the kind of parts that I like to play. But the fun thing about voice acting is that I'm, as you get older, they just write less and less parts for you. And the parts that are available, you're competing against other actors who have been around this long, who are obviously good if they're still around. And so, any one of us can play the part. It's really just a matter of choice again. And as a voice actor, I'm not typed out by my age, my race. I can play superheroes. I'm not physically equipped to play on camera. This kind of thing. I was the original voice of Deadpool in the earlier games, Ultimate Alliance and X-Men Legends and all those games before, anybody else had conceived him other than in the comic books. And then, and then of course I get to play things that aren't even human at all, or dead humans, like the Cryptkeeper, or, Elliot and Pete's Dragon, or Miko the Raccoon and Pocahontas, and, do these animal things. So, I think that probably I have a healthier career than most actors my age, and I credit that a lot to being a voice actor. So, I really love it. I mean, I really enjoy it. It's, a different kind of pressure. It's obviously a pressure to deliver, but it's, not the pressure to show up early and get into costume and makeup and
it's something new every time.
Memorize a bunch. Yeah, it's a different thing, and I enjoy them both. But I not only love it, and the people in the voiceover world are just they're competitive on a healthy level, the way that you would if you were playing on fantasy football or something between each other. But we're not. It's not the same as competing for on-camera work. We all know that there's plenty of voices for all of us, and we all admire each other when we're in the room and somebody's like killing it and doing this voice, and you're laughing and having a good time. I was on a series called Cat Dog for a number of years. That was on Nickelodeon. That was a lot of fun. And we had one of the best groups. We would get together every Tuesday to record the show. And we had one of the best groups of voiceover guys. We had Tom Kenny, who was, his SpongeBob, and Jim Cummings, who, does Pooh and all these other voices, and Carlos Alazraqui, who, was Rocco and the, the Taco Bell dog, and Billy West, who, of course, is Ren and Stimpy, and like every voice on Futurama, myself, and a number of other people, that would come in and out. Dwight Schultz, who, was Madman Murdoch on the A-Team. And, when we would get together every Tuesday and just laugh our asses off for a couple of hours and crank out a script. We'd do competing George Takeis or something like that. Somebody would just go, "Oh my," and then everybody else would crack up, and it was just an amazing opportunity to have that kind of, to do that kind of work together with guys. It's a fun group of people.
Is it a little bit different now these days? Because growing up, in the 80s and 90s, a lot of cartoons, they didn't pick, for most part, they didn't have, Hollywood actors voicing. I mean, they had a lot of voice actors, but now it seems that there's just a lot more actors that are doing voices rather than voice actors. Have you encountered that?
Yeah.
That definitely.
It's for sure affected those of us who are Yeah. Let's face it, it's a marketing business. You can't blame people for wanting to get people to put more money behind their project, or to to throw names around when they put it out there to get asses in the seats. It's expensive to do stuff.
Yeah.
And, sometimes those are good choices. You couldn't go wrong with, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen in Toy Story. And, you couldn't go wrong as Jack Black in, Kung Fu Panda, or, Robin Williams as the Aladdin, as the genie in Aladdin. You can't go wrong with actors like that. But very often they hire people that just don't have that facility. They're fine actors. It's just a different skill set. Yeah. And they could have done there's projects that have tanked because of the casting that they did. And, they're just boring. They didn't come to life.
Well, there's no voice. It's just them.
Yeah.
I think that's what harms the films, because watching, having my daughter's 11 and we take her to cartoons. I've taken her cartoons for years, movies in the theater. Mm-hmm. And the first thing, as soon as the character speaks, you know exactly who it is. And for me, I don't want to picture that person. I want it to be unknown. I want to dive into that character. I don't want to be like, that's, Jack Black's great. Some of those people, they can really harness and portray that character, well. But for the most part, some of these just regular, normal Joe Schmo actors that don't really do voice work, they're put in these movies. And you know who it is exactly as soon as they open their mouth.
Right.
And it's always kind of bothered me. So I was just curious if that's, obviously that harms, the voice actor work because, it's easier to put that on the poster rather than,
Well, it's definitely taken away. Oh, yeah. Well, they also spend a lot of money on those actors too that they don't need to spend. Right. I mean, it's like money, I used to get for some of the, lead parts that I used to do, isn't negotiable anymore. It's just like, look, we spent a crap load of money on so-and-so and, your parts scale. And you're like, and you do it because, if the movie does well, the residuals are nice. It's nice to make money because they're continuing to, show your talent and make money off of it. So, it works both ways for you. But, there's a lot of lead parts I used to be up for or get on, Disney movies and that kind of thing that now, unless they're a specialty part, like, like in the Smurfs movie, it was mostly, TV stars or whoever playing the different Smurfs. And I got to play Crazy Smurf because he made a bunch of weird noises and stuff, and I'm like, they needed somebody who could do that. So I got it. Otherwise, the other parts were like George Lopez and people, I'm just like, and it was a good movie. And I enjoyed doing it. But, in a lot of those situations, I don't get those parts. Obviously Pete's Dragon, I'm doing a dragon. Not a lot of people can come in and do that. So, but it's those lead parts have gone away because they try to stunt cast as many of them as they can. And sometimes they won't even read you for stuff that you could kill. But so you come in and you do what they call additional voices. And you come in and do a bunch of, like I was in Secret Life of Pets and I did a bunch of additional voices in it. And, you're all over the film and you get included in residuals and stuff like that. But it's like, oh, who are you? Oh, I'm Leonard's owner. In the commercial where the guy goes, be a good boy, Leonard. And then the dog turns on the stereo. That was me. And they're like, oh, okay.
Nice.
It's like, so there's definitely has changed the landscape of where there's a lot of the voice actors, the kind of work that they get in some of these major features. But there's those of us that are, still grateful for that work, and those of us that do some of the specialty stuff, whether it be creatures or animals or some crazy broad characters, that kind of thing. Still get some of those lead parts, just based on our talent.
Yeah. Here's the question that I'm sure that our listeners want to know. And if you can't say anything, that's fine. But we're wondering if you've been approached about the new Tales from the Crypt TV series.
They can't approach me. It's not, it's a matter of licensing. They would love to have me on it. It's not a matter of that. It's different people that are doing the show.
That's right.
So they own your voice in a way? They own that voice?
No, here's the deal. The Tales from the Crypt was a comic book. And, William Gaines, when he was still alive, licensed the franchise to the guys that I did Tales from the Crypt with for HBO. Mm-hmm. And those guys were Joel Silver, Walter Hill, Bob Zemeckis, David Giler, and Richard Donner. I mean, these were the biggest guys in the business at the time. It was an expensive show to do. They lost money doing it pretty much. It was, they were able to do it on the budget that was given to them through a bunch of gymnastics and getting a lot of favors. And, all those stars worked for scale. The directors worked for scale. I never really got paid a crap load of money to do Tales from the Crypt. When the movies came out, I got paid a little more. There was some advertising things they pimped the Cryptkeeper out for that I got paid for and stuff like that. So I won't say that I didn't get paid at all, but certainly enjoyed doing it, loved doing the show. But it was a labor of love for everybody. And then, they did 93 episodes and 3 movies and a kid's show and a kid's cartoon and a Christmas album and everything else that they did. And then when all was said and done, the rights ran out and they didn't renew them. They don't renew the rights because, if there's not a market or nobody's going to give them the opportunity to just bring the show back immediately, there's no reason to keep spending a lot of money owning the rights. Well, when it came time to get the rights back, they had sold them off. Gaines' family, William Gaines had since deceased, and his family had sold the rights to other people. And that eventually wound up in the hands of TNT and M. Night Shyamalan to do their version of Tales from the Crypt. Well, they have the rights to Tales from the Crypt as a comic book entity to do what they want with it, but they don't have the rights to the Cryptkeeper that Joel Silver and Richard Donner and Walter Hill and all these guys own. They created that Cryptkeeper special for their series. They hired Kevin Yeager, who created this great puppet, and my voice was part of that. So they have to come up with their own version of a Cryptkeeper.
Okay.
And, I could probably do a voice for them, but I can guarantee you, I wouldn't want to get into the legal hassle of trying to, recreate my, the voice I did for them. For that, I think it would just be it's a whole thing. I mean, I don't know, who knows? Who knows? It could work out that the Gaines family has rights to that Cryptkeeper and hire us to do it. I don't know, but I doubt that'll happen that way. Okay. Nobody wants to go through the whole legal hassle of doing that. So this Tales from the Crypt is going to be something completely different. It's just really, as much different as doing Twilight Zone without Rod Serling. When they did a different Twilight Zone, it was called a Twilight Zone, but it wasn't anything like the original Twilight Zone. And that's just the way franchises work when they're revived. Sadly, it's too close in our lifetime where we all remember Tales from the Crypt, and the Cryptkeeper was such a not only iconic but such a forward, franchise. He was the franchise, really.
Yeah.
He gave you the tone of the idea of what the show was about, that you could laugh at it and that it was tongue in cheek and the whole deal. They were brilliant in the way that they put that show together. And, and of course they were very happy with what I did because I was able to bring my stand-up kind of character to him. And, so, whether it'll be anything like the original, the Tales from Crypt that we all know and love from HBO, I doubt it, but it'll be, hopefully it'll be something that's enjoyable.
Right.
When people used to ask me if I would, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, as long as it stands on its own and it's something enjoyable, that's great. But
right.
The Cryptkeeper though, like for me, like I was aware and of the Cryptkeeper character like before I even saw the actual show, because I can't remember how young I was when it was out. But I mean, I know that I grew up strictly religious, so there was no way my parents were going to let me watch Tales from the Crypt on HBO. But with the commercials and things,
your mother sucks cocks in hell, Garrus.
But with like the commercials and the kind of the commercial success of that character kind of popping up here and there, and especially around Halloween, and things like that, I was still inundated into that character before the show. So it's just kind of shows like how
well there were a lot of people were, and it's. I never would have thought. I mean, I never would have thought kids were watching this show, when it was on HBO back in the day with the titties and the language and the horror and the whole thing.
There we go. I'm awake now. There we go.
And there you go. And neither did neither did the Tales from the Crypt people or HBO, or they never would have let go of the rights. I was shocked to find out, because I'm kind of the grassroots campaign for the show, going to horror conventions because I like them and like seeing the fans and enjoying it. And all of a sudden, I would go, my ex-wife was on Buffy and Angel, and, we would go do these conventions together, and, that was a lot more popular. And some people would come up and go, "Oh, I loved Tales from the Crypt." I go, "Really? You watched it? You're much too young to have been watching it." I go, No. I would sneak down and watch it. I would watch it with my grandmother, and, it was the only show my whole family watched. And I was like, "You're kidding me." And so then all of a sudden these, teenagers were getting into their 20s and coming to these horror conventions. And I started to realize that all these people grew up with Tales from the Crypt and were rabid about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I see more Cryptkeeper tattoos than pretty much any horror tattoo that I see out there. And some people even have me sign it and have it tattooed, which is creepy in a good way. But it's, and I'm just like kind of flabbergasted by that. And now now of course they would love to have the rights back and bring it back to the as it was. I mean, look at all the new great directors and all the new great stars. And there's, there were 500 stories that they could choose from the comic books. I mean, recently they started putting out that, M. Night was looking for, story ideas. I was like, dude, the story idea should come from the comic books. That's the whole idea.
Yeah,
right?
they're already there, man.
But it's a marketing campaign to get people going, oh, I want to get involved. You know what I mean? Because they know that they have a little bit of an uphill battle fighting what the original Tales from the Crypt was on HBO. Mm-hmm. And so they know they're in the shadow of something that was pretty spectacular. And so to come up with something, their first idea was to do something completely different. And that was to do more of not an anthology series, but more like an ongoing story, kind of like American Horror Story. Yeah. And then realizing that's not what Tales from the Crypt was. Tales from the Crypt was an anthology series. Each one was a morality play. They were short stories. They were stories that, had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and the end was never good. It was always fun, but it was never good for the characters, and so they realized that, but, you don't have the franchise. There was a lot of horror anthologies that were done during the time of Tales from the Crypt. Yeah. And Tales from the Crypt was the one that lasted because they had the Cryptkeeper as your, he was like your Johnny Carson. He was your Ed McMahon. He was your Alfred Hitchcock presenting Alfred Hitchcock Presents. He was, Rod Serling, bringing you Twilight Zone. And, so I don't know what they would do. I don't know. Maybe they could put Steve Buscemi in a shroud or something. I don't know.
Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the Crypt, folks.
So being on the show go ahead, John.
No, go ahead. That would actually be kind of funny. Maybe we'll take that idea.
I was going to ask, now with doing Tales from the Crypt as the Cryptkeeper, how much of that, since you said you had the stand-up past and obviously an actor by itself, a voice actor, how much were you improving and how much was that actually written for you, those jokes and everything?
Well, they had great writers. So it gave me a lot of stuff to go with. I, of course had to do constant interviews and that kind of thing. As the Cryptkeeper, I had to come up with all that stuff on my own. But these guys for the show, it started out with very specific, ideas and lines and that kind of thing. And then, like I would be in the studio after we started getting rolling and, the first season, the puppet's mouth didn't work very well because they didn't have as big of a budget. So Kevin's puppet didn't have as many motors in it. So you'll notice in the first season,
the Cryptkeeper talks slower and much more ominously.
And that's only because the Cryptkeeper's puppet mouth didn't work well, And then, of course, the show got picked up and they gave him more money to make his, mouth move, and I could do my, cackling, funny, punchline-y kind of version of him. And I would start cracking them up in the studio doing like the Cryptkeeper, doing, Stanley Kowalski from Streetcar Named Desire and stuff like that. And the next thing I know, they're writing those into the wraparounds, which was great because, I think by the fourth season or something, we had him doing Howard Stern and we had him doing, John Wayne and doing stand up. There's one where, he's talking to an audience that's just like barely laughing at him and it's, that kind of thing. And so they just kept expanding him as they, started realizing, what they could do with having a stand-up actor and comedian as their voice guy. So they just started expanding that. And Kevin Yeager is very creative in the way they shot it. And the puppeteers were amazing. What an amazing group of guys they would bring to life this puppet. Eventually, we would do interviews, and I would be off camera answering the questions, but the camera would be on the Cryptkeeper. Puppeteers would be looking at me, and they would be like a second behind me, even because I was improvising. They'd be like just a little second behind me, but you would never notice that on camera. That's how good they were.
Some of these puppeteers are incredible. Like Yeah, that's always, cause you see them they've done stuff with the Muppets recently in the past, however many years in the Oscars, having these puppets come out, and, I couldn't imagine, trying to keep up with somebody's, you don't know what they're going to say, but, yeah, that's pretty incredible. I mean, puppetry seems to be one of those lost arts that's going away, and I really hope it continues.
I loved puppets.
Yeah,
I loved puppets as a kid. I loved them on stage. I had ventriloquist dummies. I had a collection of them. I'm looking at one right now in my office. He's staring at me, and it's I keep some under the bed. My wife doesn't like that, but they're in a box. They're in a box, honey. But I always loved puppetry. The whole thing, the whole idea of doing, animation for me and voices came from me animating things that weren't real,
right.
And that started out with puppetry. I remember just one of my classmates now on Facebook, you get to keep in touch with all your high school friends and stuff. And they were talking about how, like, when we were in elementary school, I had made a paper mache version of Templeton and the Rat, and we did, Charlotte's Web as a puppet show. And I was like, yeah, that was like, that's really where I started. My buddies and I used to do my buddy Fred and I used to do the morning announcements in high school and crack everybody up doing voices and, the following morning announcement brought to you by a grant from the Mobile Corporation. We would do like all kinds of, out there kind of stuff. I'm going to have to wrap it up soon because I got to run out to an audition into Hollyweird.
Yep, I have to head back to work.
Wow.
Yeah, go back.
You guys got you guys got jobs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This podcast.
We have day jobs.
This podcast costs me more money than it should.
The ScreamCast, brought to you by a grant from the Mobile Corporation.
Exactly. Well, John, thank you so much for spending some time with us and talking about your career. I'm geeking out a little bit talking to you because it's just one of those things. I've heard your voice in so many different things, and it's just great to be able to talk to you about your career. So thank you.
I'm very sweaty right now.
Well, thank you, kiddies. I'll take that as a compliment. Just because I said the word tits, I think maybe you broke out into a sweat.
Yeah, I think that's
thank you,
probably
Brad and Sean, and the ScreamCast.
All right, I don't think you can choose a better ending than that. Thanks, John.
No.
Thank you, guys.
Elliot. Elliot.
We want to thank all of you for checking out our show today. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with John Kassir. Please check out our sponsors. Go to thescreamcast.com/sponsors. Check out everyone on there. Most notably, Coffee Shop of Horrors. I just got some samples in to give away. So we'll be, promoting them in the next few weeks here, getting some, doing a giveaway. So check out Coffee Shop of Horrors. Check out grindhousevideo.com. Please buy all your stuff as much as you can through them. And of course, Wolfman of Mars for providing the music, and Kevin Spencer for providing the art. And then, of course, Vinegar Syndrome. We'll be doing a Vinegar Syndrome show very soon. So please check out all their releases. And with that, we'll talk to all of you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, don't tell me you're leaving. Party's just begun.